Hello everyone, my name is Glorious Musiawa. I'm the team leader for Essential Data Team and my teammate is Kevin Walter. We were super excited to be part of OECD-UNHCR Datathon 2025 and we did comparative analysis of displaced and host community children. To give a small context of our analysis, we analyzed two different regions, that is South Sudan and Bangladesh, whereby we did a comparative analysis of host and refugee children in South Sudan. We did another comparative analysis of host and refugee children in Bangladesh, and we did an overall comparison to see do these host communities or refugee communities from these different regions have similar or different experiences. So let's dive deep into our insights and see what we found out. Okay, so this comparative analysis explores disparities and shared experiences of displaced and host community children in two different contexts, South Sudan and Bangladesh. In South Sudan, the analysis draws from UNHCR FDS SSD 2023 dataset that covers 3,078 households, whereby 2,086 are refugees and 992 are host communities. In Bangladesh, we had two separate datasets, that is the host community dataset and a refugee dataset. The study examines critical dimensions such as access to education, school attendance pattern, immunization coverage, and living conditions. Both analyses use carefully weighted statistical techniques to ensure representativeness of the population the data is sampled from. By highlighting shared challenges such as limited access to quality education or health services, the findings support the development of integrated, equitable policies. Ultimately, this work contributes to a broader understanding of how displacement shapes children's lives and how targeted interventions can foster inclusion. Heading to our introduction, we have our key saying that says, behind every row of data lies a child navigating the daily realities of displacement, trying to learn, stay healthy, and grow in uncertain conditions. In places like South Sudan and Bangladesh, refugee and host community children often face similar hardships, but with unequal access to essential services. These analyses bring their stories into focus by comparing key aspects of their lives, that is, education, health, and living conditions, by using the data from 2023. By highlighting both differences and shared challenges, we aim to support more inclusive policies that recognize the dignity and potential of every child, regardless of their status. And our study or project has five major objectives, that is, to compare the education, healthcare, and living conditions of displaced and host community children in South Sudan and Bangladesh, to identify shared challenges and key disparities that affect children's well-being across both contexts, to support inclusive, evidence-based policies by providing regional insights grounded in real-world data, to explore where displaced children may be doing better or worse as compared to their host peers and why, to foster a deep understanding of how to create opportunities for all children, regardless of their displacement status. Now, heading to our methodology, we used weighted information, but we calculated this, we adjusted to ensure fair comparisons. The population weights provided within each dataset were applied. These weights adjust for sampling design and help generate population representative estimates across both groups. The analysis was conducted separately for each region, that is South Sudan and Bangladesh. And the tools that we used Python for programming and analysis and its libraries, that is Pandas, NumPy, EdgePandas. We used Matplotlib and Seaborn for visualization and Flourish for telling a story. And we use statistical analysis, which helps us calculate the weights. Our approach includes data preparation, descriptive statistics, inferential testing, visualization, insights, and recommendation. This approach ensured both technical accuracy and contextual relevance, allowing us to highlight not just disparities, but also shared challenges and opportunities for inclusion. So I start with South Sudan, specifically healthcare. In our analysis, we observed an interesting pattern whereby refugees seem to have better access to healthcare services compared to host communities. This suggests that targeted programs for refugees might be more accessible and effective effectively implemented. So we checked several aspects, that is, ownership of immunization cards, whereby 95.5% of refugees caregivers have immunization cards compared to 75.4% of host communities. For measles vaccination, pentavalent vaccine, and vitamin A supplements, it's a similar pattern whereby refugees have higher access to these services as compared to host communities. We also have another case for deworming coverage for both refugees and host communities, whereby it's higher for refugees. The deworming rate is higher for refugees as compared to host communities. Okay, so the next analysis, we did early child education, early pregnancy, literacy, and disability among children. So I start with pregnancy and marriage status. We have slightly higher pregnancy rates for small girls age 17 and below for refugees as compared to host communities, but the marriage status is higher for host communities as compared to the refugee communities. For the school attendance, we see that more refugees attend schools. That is 63.4% of refugees attend schools as compared to the 22.1% of host communities. Although the frequency of attendance is high among both, you can see the initial enrollment and attendance is low. But once you are enrolled, the attendance frequency is high for both refugees and host communities. One notable highlight for education in South Sudan is the illiteracy levels. We can see that 99.7% refugees are illiterate and 99.9% of hosts are illiterate. That means only 0.1% children are literate for the host communities, and only 0.3% of refugees are literate. These figures reflect a widespread lack of basic literacy skills across both populations. That is our analysis for South Sudan, and I'll be heading to Bangladesh. So in Bangladesh, we have one big notable observation for education enrollment. Only host community attend formal education, and refugee community attend non-formal education. We have 86.1% of host community attending education and 70.2% of refugees attending education. When we see education enrollment by age group, we can see that for age 5 to 11 years, we have 91% of host community attending and 88.7% of refugees having been enrolled. But we have a major highlight whereby teenagers, refugee children tend to drop out more, and we have less than half population of refugees not attending school for age 12 to 17%. Sorry, for age 12 to 17 years as compared to the host communities where we have 79.3% attending school. For the barriers to education, host communities cited long travel time, whereby refugees cited several things such as security concerns, school attack, armed group recruitment, verbal bullying, and physical bullying. And also for the top reasons for not attending schools, we can see that host community have 51% reason is cannot afford cost, and enrollment issues being 17%. But for refugees, we have 20% being education is not a priority and 15% being child labor, among other reasons. Okay, so we dive into healthcare access for both refugees and hosts in Bangladesh. We have 57% needing healthcare for hosts for refugees, and 55% needing healthcare for host communities, which is quite close numbers. But for the healthcare received, we can see a higher healthcare received for refugees as compared to the host community in Bangladesh. When we see the type of services that are needed, we have consultation services being over 50% for both host and refugee services, followed by preventative treatment. And for the refugee community, we have a special case whereby maternal health care for girls which have 12 to 17 years only is 0.4% among refugees. This indicates early pregnancy and even potential early marriages for girls aged 12 to 17 years. We did a comparison here, and this brings us to our conclusion, whereby in Bangladesh, host children thrive in formal education, while refugees learners, though highly committed, remain in informal systems. In South Sudan, refugee children lead in preschool access and basic health services, yet host children struggle with vaccination gaps and limited care. Across both settings, literacy remains alarmingly low and education delays are norm. The divide is not just about access, but about opportunity. Closing these gaps call for early investment, inclusive policies, and commitment to reach every child. Thank you so much, and that's the end of our presentation. I have summarized because of time, but you can find the full analysis in our GitHub repository. This is the link here, and thank you so much. It's been an honor to be part of this datathon.